Foggy morning on the edge of Ilkley Moor. A retired British cop out for a walk. Then a flash of light, a green-skinned humanoid, and a blurry photo that would become one of the most debated alien images of all time. This is the Ilkley Moor alien abduction, and today we're joined by actor Garret Dillahunt. You've seen him in The Walking Dead, Deadwood, The Road, and a dozen other projects that flirt with the mysterious and the unexplainable. So what happens when a sci-fi icon walks into one of the strangest alien encounters England has ever seen? Does he believe? Let's find out. Welcome to another episode of Mostly True Alien Stories.
They're coming.
UFO sightings. Many Americans have wondered about the dangers of unknown objects.
Scientists in Mexico pulling back the curtain. We need to save ourselves.
Welcome back to Mostly True Alien Stories, a podcast where we tell the story of a real reported alien encounter and then weigh in on whether it's mostly true or mostly something else. Help us out by subscribing, liking, and sharing everything we do here. I'm Neal Girandola, joined as always by my co-host, Andrew Triana. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Neal.
And today, Andrew, it's a big one because sitting in with us is an actor who's faced off with zombies, desert outlaws, and dystopian futures. You know him from The Walking Dead, Deadwood, The Road, Raising Hope, and 100 roles that toe the line between mystery and madness. Please welcome my friend, Garret Dillahunt. Hey, buddy.
You kind of blew while I'm doing the thing, but yeah. Yeah, we're friends. We were friends before this podcast, but I'm happy to be here.
Well, you know what, Garret, we always, before we get into anything, we always want to ask our guests, do you believe in extraterrestrial life on other planets?
It would seem arrogant of me to think that in this gigantic tapestry of a galaxy and all the universes piled, like there has to be, right? There has to be.
Okay. Well,
That said,
there's no wrong answer.
yeah, I don't think about it much, but you know.
Have you ever had an alien experience or see any UFOs or anything like that along the line?
Not to my knowledge, no. Ghosts, maybe.
Oh.
But I don't think so. I'm sure they're out there. I don't think they want to talk to us. We always assume they're more intelligent than us, so why can't they get in touch with us if they want to?
You know, it's true, and you wonder why maybe they just don't want to talk to us. Why not reveal themselves, as I always bring up. Why not? What's the purpose of these secret abductions in the middle of the woods? And
Yeah, and the obsession with, hillbilly asses. I mean,
big time obsession. Yeah.
Well, if you've never gone hillbilly ass, you don't know what you're missing.
yeah, and it's always like some grainy photo. Like, you have to be a moron not to take a good photo. This will do it all for you. And now it's all like, no, it was moving so fast.
It's the radioactive stuff that's close by that's making the film not take. That's my
right.
favorite. The video didn't work because of the radiation.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not all. Maybe we're not all alive at the same time. Like, didn't we just recently find evidence of life on, was it Mars or the moon?
On an exoplanet.
Maybe they're just dead. Maybe it's like ancient civilizations on other planets or something. Maybe, I don't know.
They recently found some stuff on an asteroid too, they said. So
Yeah.
that's flying through space alive.
Yeah.
And that would be a worthy adversary, I suppose, an asteroid.
Yeah.
But it's not alien. So far, all alien life we've sort of found, I feel like I could take them. You know what I mean?
You got it. You can handle it.
Seems like
Yeah.
I could take this, amoeba or whatever it is.
I can take this amoeba. You know what, though? You've played a lot of great roles. You've been part of some incredible genre universes, too, like the Sarah Connor Chronicles, Fear the Walking Dead, The X-Files. As an actor, does that kind of, what's that? Does that pull you toward stories set in worlds that are just slightly like off from our own? Do you like those kinds of things?
I do like science fiction. I do like fantasy. I have a lot of them in my bookshelf. And I think I learn a lot about the world and politics from those kinds of books. I love those kinds of stories. I'm doing a show right now called Lanterns for HBO, which is about the Green Lantern Corps, which is predicated on there being an alien on every single planet, who protects that planet. It's all. So for my fan base and my bread and butter, I feel like, I should definitely believe in these things.
You better. Yeah, right.
Not to be a complete slave to that. It just doesn't make sense that there isn't. I just can't You know,
Getting back to the show that you're doing now, Andrew and I have this theory we've talked about that they're sort of preparing us for an alien sort of takeover, or the revealing of aliens by creating these types of movies that people fantasize about, right? But there's also an ulterior motive to it, saying let's just sort of start influencing people to be prepared for these types of things to actually happen. What do you think about that theory? You think that there's some sort of government involvement in
Hollywood?
in Hollywood they're saying, hey, we got, let's get this alien script in there, because then we become desensitized to the whole arrival of the aliens at some point, if you believe that they're coming.
What would be the motive for desensitizing us to that? Is there already some deal in place with the aliens?
Yeah, to reduce the people just losing their shit,
Yeah.
taking over.
They could just be prepping us too. Just they do these things in the movies so that when it does happen, we're not shocked by when it does happen.
I like your enthusiasm about this. But that seems like a reach to me, just only because I don't think anyone would think to harness Hollywood for that kind of good. And also in the movies, it seems like most of the time, although E.T. and some others are kind, the aliens are enemies, like, which is an attractive thing about science fiction and fantasy. The enemy's clear.
Right.
It's like today, the political climate, everyone's like, no, this is what's going on. No, this is what's going on. No one's sure. No one knows where to get information. And those kinds of stories, everybody knows who the bad guy is, and we must unite.
Right.
There's clarity in that. There's safety and comfort in the decision being made for you. You know what I mean?
I want to believe in aliens. I want to believe in that whole universe and all of that happening. And if they do arrive, I will say, just to your point, from all the movies and television shows and everything out there, if you were only to see it through that lens, you would think that they're going to kill us. They're going to tear us apart. They're going to annihilate us.
That's right. But they're always like more technologically advanced than us, with like one insane weakness, like we can't stand water, or you know what I mean? Just if you spit on us, we discover this weird weakness, even though they're miles beyond us in any other way.
Zag nuts. They don't like zag nuts.
Yeah. Something we all have, or something laying around the house.
I always found that fascinating with the aliens, the Alien series. They weren't traveling; they were on desolate planets that we went to, or people went to, and they weren't trying to get on ships or anything. They were just trying to continue their colony.
Yeah.
Their colony was to serve the queen. And Neal and I have talked about this before. I don't think the aliens were actually that bad. I mean, they need us like a virus needs a host. They need us to continue. And, it's sad that we die because the thing busts out of our chest, but, they're just trying to survive.
Exactly. What about this? Do you think, let's say we discovered the aliens, let's say on some trip we found them, do you think we could leave them alone?
No.
Would we be aggressive and start causing problems? Or
That's a great question, because I just think it's in our nature to destroy something new like that discovery. Yeah.
Either colonize them or see something that we can use from them and bring it back and use it to take advantage of other people.
Right.
It's just man's inhumanity towards man is really what it boils down to. It's just
Isn't it a shame? That's how we feel now. Like, well, we're gonna fuck it up,
Right.
Yeah, it's sad. Hey, tell me about Lantern. Is that in production now, or talk about?
It's going right now. I think we're about halfway through season 1.
And what's the layout
Tell
story?
us about it. Are you a
role?
Green Lantern? Are you a Lantern?
I'm not, and I know that's been announced, so that's okay.
Oh, there's some things you can't talk about.
Yeah, people think I'm Green Arrow. People think I'm someone called the Black Hand. Because there's an old communist sort of conspiracy theorist, Oliver Queen, Green Arrow guy who used to teamed up with Green Lantern in the comics, and everyone's like,
Oliver Queen. Yeah, Oliver Queen.
Oliver Queen, yeah.
Can we be the podcast that breaks the news about what you?
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, it'd be great.
People are all riled up about it, though. They're just like, another geezer superhero. What's going on, DC? And I'm like, no, I'm not a.
So how far along are you in production?
We're about halfway through. Kyle Chandler and British actor named Aaron Pierre play the Lanterns. They're great. It's a great cast. I met Laura Linney yesterday. She was on set to do something.
Wow.
Oh,
It just gets better and better and better. Ulrich Thompson, Nathan Fillion's in it. Jason Ritter plays my son. Kelly MacDonald from No Country for Old Men. If I haven't seen her since then, she's in
Wow.
this. It's just wonderful. We had some shot the other day that had like 350 extras in it, and it felt like so many people on set. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, this is like the old
Wow.
days, So I think it's going to be cool. I really liked everybody. Kyle's a great dude. Just an immediate sort of like, I want to hang out with this guy kind of guy.
That's how I feel about you. We're talking about your body of work. You have never stopped working, and you've done nothing but great iconic films and TV shows. We were laughing about, I mean, you were in a soap opera back in the day.
It was One Life to Live. Yeah, I'd never set foot in front of a camera before. I was in my early 30s and was broke. I remember thinking one day, I was walking down the street and I was like, I don't know where dinner's coming from tonight. I lived in a tiny little apartment on 71st in Columbus. It was so good. It was $275 a month when I moved in, and like $325 by the time I moved out 9 years later.
You do know I've stayed in that apartment a handful of times. You would go out of town and I'd say, can I use your apartment? Or you'd ask me to stay. I don't know what it was. And you give me the keys and I would go.
It was tilted, I miss that
you had
place.
A bunk, right? You had like a bunk.
Yeah, I had like a loft bed.
Yeah,
it's a loft bed. It's not a bunk bed.
Bunk bed. That was a great apartment. You miss those days,
great,
though.
but you're doing theater all the time, and you're constantly slipping in and out of the red. And I was literally walking down the street, and I ran into a guy from my school, and he was like, I was thinking, like, what am I going to do for dinner? I got no money. There's nothing in the house. And he saw me on the street and he was like, oh, man. And he just started telling me how great I was doing. And I saw this review in the New York Times and I just was looking at him the whole time. All I could think of was like, I don't know where dinner's coming from. And you think I'm doing good? Oh, no, this business, I was like, I got to mix this up a little better. I got to start doing film and TV, I guess. That was back when you thought you had to choose.
Yeah.
And first thing I got was this soap, which seemed like I couldn't believe they were paying me like $800 a day, to play that. But I work 1 or 2 days a month, but still.
You remember that feeling though, getting that job? And that just gets you to the next level. But that feeling is like accomplishment and excitement, right? You just get inspired to continue on.
Yeah. There's someone that used the phrase to me one time, naive enthusiasm. And I miss that sometimes. I miss it, where you're just like, I don't care. I'll sleep on stone just to do this. You don't have to pay me. I believe in this, Now it's just like, well, I don't know. What are my accommodations? You have my per diem prepared, it's all very, but I miss that very much. But I remember I didn't know what I was doing. The girls were so pretty. I was completely tongue-tied, and I'd walk right up to them, and they'd be like, no, honey, you got to see that on the ground. That's called your mark. You got to stand on that. Otherwise, okay.
I love that.
Crazy.
That.
In my 30s.
What's the one role that you think just catapulted you a little bit and just never look back?
Yeah, I don't know if those actually exist, but I do think those things have an effect on you that has a lasting effect, because I remember the first, I did this play called Eye of God that my friend Tim Blake Nelson wrote. We had done a play together, but this was my first lead role. And for some reason, I always thought like that wasn't for me. Like, I'm not handsome enough. I'm not whatever enough. I'm weird. I'll never be that guy. And you're like, oh, you are. You can do this. You are allowed to tell stories and not look like Robert Redford or something, and it gave me confidence. And then probably Deadwood.
That whole Deadwood run for you played 2 different characters in the series, and then you played a 3rd character in the movie. How do you go into that as an actor in the same show, but playing a different actor? Is that a difficult?
Well, I felt a lot of pressure, and and that I'm sure solidified a reputation for me, justified or not, that I can do anything, and I'll let people think that if you're going to hire me. But I was talking with Tim Oliphant about this a while back. As much as we loved Deadwood and it changed everything for us, it kind of ruined everything else because the way we worked on that was this is how we imagined it was going to be always in film or TV, just this incredible cyclic artistic process. Because David wrote a book actually called Life's Work. It's a memoir that tells you a lot of stories about all of his shows and the way he works. And it's a very inspiring book for any artist. I think you should read that, any writer or an actor. And he talks a lot about why he cast me twice and stuff like that. And some stuff I didn't know. I don't think I could have done it today. I don't think Deadwood would have been allowed to exist today. We took 21 days to shoot an episode one time. We never had a finished script after the first couple, maybe. Just not how he works. We would literally get hot pages every day, and we were winging these monologues, and it was just so brilliantly laid out and poetic. And he would come out every morning and set the scene. This is what the scene's about. And we were all wrong always. We're like, oh, it's about the opposite of what we thought, and which to him is what a great scene is, just tons of subtext. And I wanted to do a good job. I wanted to earn it, and no one knew who I was, which helped a lot as well.
What was the reason he hired you twice, 3 times?
Well, I think Neal, and I'm sure you'll understand this right away. I think I'm the greatest actor in the world.
Yeah.
And
well,
no, I don't.
That was a given.
It was something about chaos. The first character was an actual character, an actual historical figure, the guy who kills Wild Bill Hickok. And he was supposed to be the ugliest man anyone had ever seen. Every description of him was like, this guy is so ugly. And I was like, wow, this is my part.
Thanks.
But we uglied him up a lot. I had this patchy beard. I could do this trick with my eye, and it made it easier to be the other guy then, because I tried at least to look as different as I could. And that's kind of what we do in theater, right? I mean, it wasn't an unusual thing to me. This is what you do. If you're in a company, you're the prince one day, you're the pauper the next. So it actually didn't seem unusual.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to go home. I was really happy.
Yeah, that's very cool. What's your favorite role that you've ever played to date?
Wolcott was pretty cool. That was the second guy on Deadwood. But I did a show called Hand of God for Amazon. It was Ron Perlman. Ben Watkins created it. And I don't know if it's the greatest show. It's a good show. But it was maybe one of the greatest characters I've gotten to play. It was real complex, lifetime convict, basically. Skinhead turned religious. So he's trying to do better. Unfortunately, he has a rage problem, but his skills get harnessed by the judge. And I just really loved that a lot. I loved I'd tried something physical that was unusual, and I was nervous to do it, and it worked. And that's a good feeling.
My wife, who she said it was one of her favorite roles that she had seen you in as well. And I said, why are you watching all of Garret's films all the time? Right. Why are you always watching his stuff?
I've always liked your wife. She has a great taste. Great taste in men.
We're going to play this segment. It's called Mostly True or Not. And I'm going to read some headlines from the alien universe, and you're going to weigh in on whether you think it's mostly true or not. Are you ready?
Fine. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Andrew, you can weigh in too if you want. All right. So, Garret, aliens helped build the pyramids. Mostly true or not?
I think not.
Just going to leave it there? You want to leave it there?
Agreed.
Well, I just think, I think that's a convenient excuse to justify the massive amount of slave labor that they used to build those things and all the people they killed. I think it's built on the bones of fucking slaves.
Agreed.
All right, very good.
No, it was aliens. Yeah.
There was a huge spaceship. They lowered it down.
No one was harmed in the construction of these incredible.
All right. At least one U.S. president has had direct contact with extraterrestrials.
I'm gonna say no. I do. I believe aliens exist, but I think why would they choose them? Why? Do they recognize our fucking hierarchy of? Anyway.
That's my question always is how do they know who the president is?
Yeah,
How do they know to go to the White House? How do they know to go find that guy?
I believe they've contacted someone. I just don't know if it's the president. It's a small number of people, really. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, Neil.
No, that's good. This is good.
You said not long winded, and here I go.
Yeah, no, I this is what we wanted. All right, Garret, if you were offered, would you go aboard a UFO? No questions asked.
I was gonna say yes until you said no questions asked, because I'd probably have a few questions.
All right, take out no questions asked.
Yeah,
you would go aboard a UFO.
Heck yeah.
You would.
I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. I feel like
you can handle it. Yeah, you can handle the aliens. Okay. Yeah. All right.
I'd be dead immediately.
All right. Last one. Some UFO sightings are actually time travelers, not aliens.
I never even considered that.
That's why we're playing this game.
Yeah. No. I think no.
Absolutely.
I don't mean to be such a stick in them, but it's just an odd. Yeah.
Andrew, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, you're talking multi-dimensional travel. I think that's. I mean, I love Stargate. So thinking about Stargate, that was kind of cool that they could do that instead of just they flew this ship thousands of light years away to land in the middle of the woods to pick up Billy Bob and do whatever and then fly away. And then Billy Bob makes millions of dollars because he sold this story. I think popping in and out makes more sense than actually flying through space to get here. So I'm going to go with yes.
Okay. Well, one of the theories that is out there, Garret, is, and I did a short video on it, was that the aliens are really us, and we're time traveling. It's the alien. It's us from the future who are able to change time and come back.
So what we're watching is future us coming back.
Yes.
To buy some hot stock or something, or maybe sell before the tariff sting,
or tell you not to do the show.
Yeah, stay off the show. No, the theory is that we can only go back in time. We can't go forward in time.
So they're stuck here then.
Well, I think they, so that's where the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah, or you could say there's a multiverse, and somewhere in another dimension, this same thing is happening where the three of us are talking. It might not be the same context, but we're talking.
And maybe that was their job. Like, I've done movies in weird places, and then inevitably, like I was in Jordan, and I was in the ruins of Petra. Those ruins, incredible, carved out of stone. And they say, and this section was built. This is part of the Roman road. Like the Romans built this section of the thing.
Crazy.
The Romans, and you realize that, this was some guy's whole life. He was sent there and his entire life was to build this section of road in Jordan. So maybe that's their, that's a commitment. That's like, I'm going to live and die as basically a Jordanian, not a Roman.
Roads. Yeah.
Maybe this aliens are doing the same thing. Like, well, I'm an earthling now. Just blend in.
You think they're living among us? Mostly true?
They're here.
Could be.
Let's get to the reason we brought you here today. We're going to talk about a story that's one of the weirdest from the UK. The Ilkley Moor alien abductions. A police officer, a green-skinned being, and a single blurry photograph that still divides the paranormal world. And good news is Garrett's going to stick around with us and weigh in on this story as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. You know the rules, right, Garret? I'm telling you a documented story about a true alien encounter. And then we are going to weigh in on whether we think this is mostly true or not. I got you warmed up with the speed round there.
Can't wait.
Here we go. Ilkley Moor is a desolate, misty stretch of land in West Yorkshire, England. It's the kind of place that feels like it belongs to another time or another world. It's rolling hills, scattered rocks, dense fog, and a few signs of life. And on the morning of December 1st, 1987, Philip Spencer, this is a pseudonym to protect his identity, apparently, was hiking across the moor. Spencer was a former police officer, newly moved to the area, and he had set out early to photograph the landscape and visit his father-in-law's house on the other side of the moor. Armed with a compass and a camera, bundled against the freezing cold, Spencer had no idea his life was about to take a turn into the bizarre. As he made his way across the fog-shrouded moor, Spencer noticed a small figure about 30 yards ahead standing awkwardly near a rise. At first, he thought it might be a lost hiker or a child, but as he got closer, the figure became clearer and stranger. About 4 feet tall, greenish-gray skin, a large bulbous head, long arms that nearly reached its knees, short, thick legs, almost stubby. It wasn't human, and the figure noticed him. It turned, and it began to scurry away toward a glowing, dome-shaped craft partially obscured by the fog. Thinking quickly, Spencer raised his camera, and he snaps a photo. And the figure paused for a moment, and then seemingly aware, it then hurried toward the craft, which lifted silently into the air, and it vanished into the fog. Shaken, Spencer realized his compass was spinning uncontrollably. He refusing to settle on north, and he tumbled toward his father-in-law's house. But when he arrived, something was wrong. Spencer thought that maybe 15 or 20 minutes had passed since he took the photograph, but his father-in-law's clock told a different story. He was more than 2 hours late. So somehow over 2 hours had vanished from his memory, and he hadn't simply gotten lost. He had no memory of anything after the photo. And there was something else, a dull ache behind his eyes and a feeling like he had been examined or touched. So the photograph Spencer took remains one of the most controversial pieces of UFO evidence to this day. It shows a small humanoid figure standing on the moor. It's blurred, partly because Spencer was shaking when he snapped it. That's what he says. Experts at the time couldn't definitively prove the photo was a hoax. Image analysts from various sources, including Kodak Labs, concluded the object was indeed in the frame at the time of exposure and not superimposed. Critics argue it could have been a person in a costume, a cardboard cutout, a trick of light and fog, but Spencer insisted there was no trick. All right, so realizing he needed answers, Spencer eventually underwent hypnotic regression with Bud Hopkins. He's a well-known figure in the UFO abduction research community. And under hypnosis, Spencer recalled being paralyzed and lifted into the craft. Inside the ship, he encountered several beings similar to the one he photographed, along with the larger, more authoritative figures. The interior was cold, metallic, and dimly lit. He was placed on a curved examination table where the beings conducted medical tests, including scanning his body with the devices and extracting samples.
Extracting.
Yes. It was a party. They communicated telepathically, telling him he was being examined for research and that he would not be harmed. Spencer also described being shown a series of images, visions of Earth, devastated by pollution and war, scenes of lush green landscapes returning after humanity changed its ways. He said the beings imparted a message of environmental stewardship. He was urging humanity to correct its destructive behavior before it was too late. When asked why he was chosen, the beings reportedly said, "You will not understand now, but you will help others to know." After the encounter, he remembered being placed back on the moor, dazed and confused. Now, following the encounter, Spencer became withdrawn and anxious. He refused interviews for years and avoided publicity, choosing anonymity. His photograph was analyzed, never definitively debunked. No money was made from the incident. We always like to know that. Spencer never sought to profit. Local law enforcement was skeptical, but had no explanation. No other hikers or locals reported seeing the craft, although other UFO sightings had occurred over the Ilkley Moor, both before and after Spencer's encounter. In fact, Ilkley Moor has a long history of mysterious lights, animal mutilations, unexplained disappearances, and locals have whispered for generations that the moor is a place of strange energies. Alternate theories, some skeptics have proposed that he misidentified a human figure, a hiker or a child in odd lighting conditions. That cracks me up. Just, short, stubby, hairy.
Me, basically.
That he fabricated it. There's no evidence, Spencer, though, no evidence that he faked it. Psychological episode. They think maybe stress or exposure could have caused hallucinations, but these theories don't fully account for the missing time, the spinning compass, the consistent hypnotic testimony. So that is our story. And now I'm going to hand it over to you guys. And it is a strange one for me. And I'm going to hand it over to you guys and have you weigh in on whether you think this is mostly true or not. Garrett, usually Andrew has some stuff that I left out, so let's let him fill in some blanks and see what if this changes our decisions.
Over to you, Andrew.
All right. Okay. So here's something that's interesting. He said that there's two different stories that are pseudonym friend, which I find fascinating, that he changed his name to protect the innocent or the guilty. Nobody really knows who he is, just so that we're putting that in the picture as well.
In a previous story that we had done, there was a police officer that used his own name who had taken a picture very similar, and this happened in Kentucky. And this guy's life was ruined. His house was burned down. His wife left him. He was fired from the force. He was a young chief of police, 26 years old. Maybe this was part of the plan for him.
Possibly, but the story started with him, not giving his real name. Okay, so the person, Philip, said that he was going to his father-in-law's house, but actually, the other story is he went to the moor because they had heard about the lights appearing there, and he wanted to get some photos of these mysterious lights that were appearing. So that's really why he was out there. He wasn't just like walking across to take pictures of the fog to go see his father-in-law.
He was looking for aliens.
He was looking for aliens. Okay, so let's put that in place.
All right, that's a good bit of insight there. Okay,
right. And so the first thing that he said that he did was he actually took a photograph of this thing. He said that the creature held his hand up and said, "Don't come any closer." And he was like, "Fine, I'll get a picture of you from here." Click. And then the thing scurried off and he chased after it. And then he saw the ship take off, right? Then he thought, like you had said, 15 or 20 minutes had gone by, but it actually had been 2 hours. So when he did make it to his father-in-law's house, was in the town was open. Everything was open for business. And he's like, how could this be? I was at 8 o'clock in the morning and now it's 10 a.m. This is crazy. So the first thing he did was he took his camera and he took the film and had it developed. And in the developed of the film, there was this creature that you really can't see. It looks like a green blob thing.
Looks like his penis.
It looked like a bush. It looked like a bush. It could possibly be. They thought it was possibly a mannequin. So they give it to a wildlife specialist, right? To look at he's the first person to look at this photo. Wildlife specialist looks at the photo, says, "No, that's definitely not wildlife." So then the photo was sent to the U.S. to Dr. Bruce Maccabee, an optical physicist for the United States Navy. And he said that the slow shutter speed made the film too grainy for analysis. We really can't know what it is. He's really sad, but he said, "I really wanted this to be a photo of a real alien."
Wait, McAfee said that?
Yes, Dr. Bruce Maccabee.
Maccabee. He's the one who said, "I was really hoping this would be an alien."
Yeah, I was really hoping it was it was real. I was really hoping it was real. That's his quote. So then they brought in the hypnotist. His name was actually Dr. Jim Singleton, and Philip decided that he agreed. So on March 16th, 1988, and this happened at the end of 87, so not that much time had passed. Okay, so under hypnosis, Philip said the creature was 4 feet tall, short, small legs. His body was blobby. So he said he wasn't in good shape. So I guess this alien's not on the workout team. He's not your normal gray or your normal green guy, right?
Might be an unidentified type of alien.
Big hands, long arms.
Right.
Big hands, long arms, small feet. So the creature approached him. And when the creature approached him, he couldn't move. He was frozen.
Okay.
Then the next thing he realized, he's laying on his back and he's floating towards the spaceship like he's being tethered, like he's a balloon.
Right. This is through the hypnotist.
This is through the hypnosis. Right.
Yeah, that's a regression. Yeah, he tells of this story.
Hypnosis regression, right?
Yeah.
So he gets up there and they do the usual. They run the wand over him. They run the wand in him. Yep. They do whatever they do, the aliens, whatever their obsession is, whatever group this is. And then they showed him 2 films.
Rocky 1.
And the first film was showing the Earth just famine. He saw people from Ethiopia and all over the world, people starving and dying.
These were what they were telling him to make the world a better place. Yeah.
And then there was a second film that the aliens told him not to tell anybody about. Do not tell them what you've seen.
But he did.
He never did. Even under hypnosis. He said he refused. This is what Dr. Singleton said. He refused to speak about the second film because he was told not to.
How is any of this dispelling if this is true or not?
Wait, the story is getting better. Do you see how elaborate it is now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to hear the story again. I want to know why you think it's not true.
Have I said anything yet? I haven't even weighed in on my decision. Okay. The photo that he actually took place after the time lapse. Then the creature went back to the ship. and he took off.
My report, he says he took the story, then lost
Your
time.
report's wrong because that came out in the hypnosis. That he took the picture after, not first.
Oh, there was never this encounter of like, don't follow me, and he chased after him. It was all like, we're done probing you, and he took a farewell snap.
Yeah.
I guess but that was him waving
On his way out the
in
ship.
the photo, and then off the ship. But he never thought to take a picture of the ship. Find that fascinating.
Because I mean, it might have been just lost in communication in the hypnotist.
Okay, then you brought up the whole thing about his compass, right? His compass was like
spinning around, yeah.
Spinning around,
Yeah,
right? It didn't
right.
work anymore.
Yeah.
It had been demagnetized. Well, that can happen by anybody.
I really want to weigh in on this, but you're telling me the story again.
Skeptics are saying there's two schools of thought on this, okay?
Yeah, you have 30 more seconds.
The creature standing out there was just a mannequin. That the guy made up the whole thing. That's why he's not given his name. It wasn't real. He never got probed. They never tested him. When they went to the area, there was no radiation found. There was nothing found other than this photo. And they're saying that it's too grainy to even depict what it is.
So what are you saying?
What I'm saying is that this guy, obsessed with going out there to take lights of photos, take photos of lights in the sky, made up this whole freaking thing, changed his name in case it went south.
But you're thinking it went south.
Did it? Could it have been? Sure, it could have gone south, meaning that everybody would have thought he was crazy. Okay, look, the last thing I would think of, Garret, weigh in on this, please. If you saw an alien and you took a photo of the alien and you went to show somebody, would you change your name? Or would you say, my God, I just saw an alien and here's the photo?
Yeah.
Would you have the thought process ahead of time to change your name?
Don't try to influence Garret. Don't try to influence him.
Your story about the other guy who got his whole life got turned upside down, I could see it as an impetus to that, but the whole thing does sound like a crock of shit. Like there's no one who can verify this except this guy, and he has like no evidence. And it's everything we've always heard aliens do. I mean, I don't.
Right. Tell me something new.
Yeah. Did he fall asleep and was late and this is what he came up with? I feel like he took a picture and after the fact was like, that looks kind of like something in that picture. I don't know. He took his picture out expressly to catch some aliens and then muffs it. Just
he blew it.
One
he had
photo.
His one shot.
He took one photo and it's horrible. You know, I don't know. I don't know why someone would do that. I don't know why.
That's what I always ask first.
I'm going to go with, I guess you know where I go with this. Mostly not true. No,
you're saying it's not a mostly true alien story.
It's
okay.
Bullshit.
All right, Garret. Yeah. I want to hear you weigh in. What do you think?
Well, it's a little weird that they showed them film. Like, how do they have similar technology? Like, they went and made a film.
It might have been a hologram.
And why him? Like, okay, we're choosing this random dude to give you some horrible warning about your planet, and don't tell anybody. And he doesn't. It's like, why did we have this exercise? You know, random dude. You know, like we were hoping that you would defy. Like, why waste that? Was it? It just doesn't make any sense.
So what are you saying?
Well, I think this is mostly a crock. This is mostly a crock.
Crock.
He's embarrassed and he hit out. That was 40 years ago? A little more?
87,
yeah.
I mean,
almost 40, yeah.
And nothing's happened with these dire warnings. Like, thanks for nothing. You know, the aliens chose a shitty human. You know, he didn't help us at all.
Yeah. Well, we run into that a lot in these stories where it is a environmental message to save the planet, and then nobody does anything about it. Well, listen, Andrew doesn't think it's a mostly true alien story. Garret thinks it's a crock of shit. So let me weigh in. I wanted to believe this. I don't understand why he would change his name or anything like that. And throughout the whole thing, there's no reason to it. But he's definitely influenced by other alien encounters, by this whole environmental message. And I think that's where it came from. But I agree with you guys. I do not buy this. This is not a mostly true alien story. Garret thinks it's a crock of shit. Andrew says
the most compelling part's the hypnosis, right? Maybe because you're like, what? But then I also feel like I think you can
fake that too.
You can. I think you can. It might be hard, and also like, what do we know about this hypnotist? Like, how many hypnotists did we see? And this is the only one that could do it, or is this? I don't know. Sorry.
It's definitely a not a mostly true alien story.
I'm a little angry. I would like one to be true. You know, Stop wasting our time,
Y-
liars.
Yeah, this one misses on a lot of counts because, like you said, Garrett, there's no other people involved. You could say anything. Yeah, my compass was spinning.
Yeah, was it?
I was taken away and I lost time. I mean, he maybe had a few drinks out on the Ilkley Moor before he headed back to his dad's house, and then just, said he was lost time.
And now that we have digital cameras with autofocus, and where's all the great pictures of aliens now? Like, have they stopped since technology's improved on our planet? Have they just stopped probing us?
I watched several like stories on this particular story, and they're all like, "Oh yes, we actually spoke with him, and he told us." And I'm like, "What did he say? What's his name? Like, where's the legitimacy of this person? They're not, and they're going to say that it's a real story." And I'm like, "How?"
Those that spoke to him may have vetted him and were sworn to anonymity, but they probably vetted him and said he's a pretty credible guy. I mean, why wouldn't we believe him? I think if he was a nut job, they all be like, yeah, this guy's nuts. It just definitely didn't happen. Garrett, before we let you go, I have a final question for you. If you were the cop out on Ilkley Moor that day, and this was you were involved in this story, do you think you'd chase the alien like he did or turn him run?
I don't know if I'd chase it, but I think I'd be curious and I'd follow at a constant distance, just kind of see what's going on here, or I'd try to be friendly.
Would you take better pictures?
I'd be like, you want a probe? You want a quick probe? Let's be pals,
A nice selfie with him. I mean, come on.
Yeah, a nice info fucking selfie. Like, hey.
Well, it was a green-skinned humanoid, his missing time, a blurry photo, and a very confused Yorkshire cop. That was the Ilkley Moor alien abduction. It's a big thanks to you, Garrett. Thank you for being here, jumping in with us. And if you haven't seen Garrett, which I doubt, in The Walking Dead, Deadwood, or The Road, fix that. Lantern's coming out soon. They're halfway through production. You're going to have to check that out. And as always, let us know what you think. Was this one mostly true or mostly a weird walk gone sideways? Leave your comments on the page here. Subscribe to YouTube and hit us up on all the other platforms. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Be kind to aliens when they get here. We'll see you guys on the next one. Garrett, thank you.
Thanks.
UFO sightings. Many Americans have wondered about dangers of unknown objects.
Scientists in Mexico pulling back the curtain